University.
So it's finally happening. We're in the car on our way to the airport to then fly to the UK. I'm here with my wonderful wife, the lady.
And I am trying to film while he's driving. So you've got a good old close-up because we're in a little car.
Yes, we're in a little car as we're on the way to the airport. And so I have interesting feelings on this trip. This trip has been, on its way for a while. It was going to happen sometime in my life, and this is it. And I have always, from a very young age, been entranced and intrigued by, of course, the medieval period. You might have guessed by the type of things on the channel. Even more so, I guess, in the last several years, as I've really been diving into medieval history on Shadiversity and stuff, I have felt a connection to my British heritage in that sense. This is the land of my ancestors, and so I feel like there's a connection there. There's something, and I don't know what I'll feel like when I land there, if I will feel that connection or not. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I know it's going to be absolutely wonderful to be in a place that has such incredible history and see things that I have watched through screens my entire life and studied in depth. There are castles I've studied a lot of. We're going to be going to Corfe Castle, amongst others, Caernarvon, Caerphilly, going to go to Bodiam, of course Tower of London. I've studied so many of these things, so many of these castles, and to be there in person is going to be surreal for me, so I'm really looking forward to that. Getting on the plane now. So that is one 13-hour flight down, and there's another 12-hour flight to go. This is the layover in Dubai, and we're getting there. And look, you can't really complain. It was a comfortable enough flight. Didn't really sleep well though, but halfway done. And we are here, though I suspect that the time it took for you was a lot quicker than for us. So it turns out the second flight was actually a lot shorter than I had thought it was. It was 6 hours?
7 hours, I think.
Yeah. So that was actually quite, well, the flights weren't really painful. I was going to say painless, but they were pretty comfortable. I didn't sleep too well on them, so we'll see how I go. But how did you find the flights, my dear?
Yeah, I kind of dozed through most of it, and food was good, so it was pretty easy for me. I spent most of it listening to Book 3 of the Wheel of Time, so I was happy.
Interesting. So, first observations, right? One, it feels great. I have, been enamored by medieval history for a long time, and a lot of that history is, of course, English history. And so to finally be in the land that I have, I talked about at the beginning of this vlog, that I've felt a connection to for a long time, feels pretty darn cool. And, being in a land with such history is really, really awesome. It's funny to notice just differences already in miles, and trying to figure out what the speed limit on the highway is. 70 miles is the speed. But also interesting, the plane had cameras on the outside, and you can actually see a downwards view, bird's eye view of the land as we're flying over and coming into landing. And one of the observations that stood out to me And it's probably not like this all over, England, but it's all cultivated. It's all farmland. It's all farm fields everywhere, with only pockets of like little forest and bush and everything. And that's a big contrast when you're flying over Victoria, which I've done multiple times, of course, coming into land into Melbourne, where you see just vast swaths of unsettled forest, because we have a smaller population, less set, so it stood out to me.
And water is somewhat harder to come by, so if you don't have water, you don't cultivate.
Yeah, and very green place. Depending on the time of year that you're flying over Victoria or Australia, the land can look pretty dry. And of course in the winter it's usually pretty green, but man, it is very green here. So we are on our way to our first accommodation. We're planning to see a castle tomorrow?
Yeah, straight into a castle tomorrow.
And we're actually meeting up with my sister, who is currently living over here. They're world travelers, so they go all over the place, and so I'll probably say hi to them in maybe the next vlog. But there we go, that was the journey. We're finally here. We're going to be having a lot of fun. Going to be seeing heaps of castles.
We're heading straight into Wales, not into England.
Yeah, people were asking, like, are you going to go? Yeah, we're going to Wales. First stop, actually. So, first day in Wales, Newport specifically, and my wife and I decided to go out and look for a place to get some breakfast. Found a nice pub, but it's not open yet, and so we just looked for a seat, and lo and behold, I saw something that attracted my attention. That thing right there. I don't think it's a castle. It might be maybe a church or something, but it's not ruin of some kind. But look, we're right near the river here, and right over there. So, but it looks castle-like, and I have to go see if it's castle-like a moth to flame. I need to find out. This could be my first castle I get to see here in Britain. This is Newport Castle. So my first castle, we just come upon, by accident. And it is actually amazing. Look at the size of this archway here. I mean, I really want to get a closer look, but it's all behind a gate. For obvious reasons, it's not in the best of condition. But, oh my gosh, guys. I'm at my first castle. Look at that. Look how incredible that is. So right outside the castle, there's this model right here showing what it looked like in the past. And it's actually a gorgeous little design with a central gatehouse. We've got two flanking towers on the side and basic wall ringing around it. So going off of this model, when we look at the castle, that must be actually the central or the primary gatehouse right here. From the model, it actually looked like this was connected to another section of building that came out, and we can see a roof line right up there. Do you see this roof line right here? And so it seems like there was a roof or a building that was connected to this, that this archway entered into, which would have looked really majestic. And you can even see the light might be too dark for the camera. You can actually see the vaulted ceiling on the inside. And so we see a lower archway here, of course arched because it actually has a stone floor above it, which leads to the gatehouse up here. I'm desperate to know how old that window is here, because that is not generally atypical of castles. I wonder what side we're looking at, actually. No, well, the wall is coming off here, so we must be inside the bailey, which is bizarre because that would be an outward-facing bailey, but if it's facing the river, you can see the river on the other side, that might not be necessarily a defensive weakness. And it would just be a great point of reference to be able to have to see, big, large windows, outward-facing windows on historical defensive castles, and what period. Usually windows like that, or windows at all, were added to castles at a later period. So I just have many questions. So we can see this side of the castle. Now, I was calling it the main gatehouse, but it can't be the main gatehouse if it's facing the river, unless you actually got access to it via the river. which is interesting. But you can see those big windows. I'm suspecting they were added in later, in all honesty. Just because they're very, like I said, they're atypical for fortified castles like that. But you can see them facing the outside. And look how gorgeous they are. So you can see the indent here of the fireplace. So that was actually inset into the stone wall right there. And look at these windows flanking it on either side. So clearly there was some type of wooden great hall or building that extended away from the wall here. That these windows are so majestic and gorgeous. Look at how they inset inside. This honestly gives me like justification for the windows I designed on Honor Guard's Great Hall, because they're about that size. You can see the framing on them still, and how they're recessed. So you even see the little sections where people sat on either side. And so imagine this hall with big gorgeous fireplace flanked by 2 windows. Oh, this would have been an absolutely amazing looking castle. Looking at the model again, you see this front entrance here, which must be the entrance from the riverway. But also it looks like there's 2 other gatehouse entrances. So I've got an entrance here on the side with this gatehouse, and one over here. That one's not standing anymore because that would have been coming off of this wall here, extending, and would be looking at that gatehouse right there. This one also looks to be mostly missing as well. But what's interesting, you see buildings connected to the front wall along here, which has those windows attached to it, especially those really large ones, and the fireplace, which would have been connected to this great hall. And you could walk through here. There would have been a big archway going to here, big archway coming from this building to this one here. And as we see, that's that archway there. This castle would have looked absolutely flippin' stunning in its heyday. And imagine walking through that archway through the halls of this castle. Oh, it would have been amazing. I would love to come back here. Or thinking of actually emailing maybe the council or local area, see if we could get access, because there's a walkway right over there. See there? That I would love to get on and get closer, get in the kits, the Shadowverse kit, and do a dedicated video talking about all these interesting design features that I'm noticing just in this vlog right here. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous castle with some really, really intriguing elements. And it's our first day! And we didn't even intend to look at it. It's like, that looks like the castle over there. And it's an absolutely amazing one. My castle cherry has been pops. Oh, wow. And when you think about the history of what's happened in these buildings as well, it's just amazing. If you look closely at the archway underneath, you can even see access for the portcullis. So that means that maybe this was the more primary entrance and primary access was via the river. Again, I'm so intrigued. I want to find out when these big windows were added, like even here on the sides. But that feature window right there, wow. Look, and it's high enough from the ground that it would still be defensible. It would be really hard to get access to those windows. But with design features like that, that actually justifies certain design features I put on Honor Guard, which I suspected was the case. But even in all my study of castles online, I have never seen such a large feature window like that above a primary entrance. First time touching a real castle. This is like, depending on the period, this is like 700 to 800 year old stone right here. It's part of the wall of Newport Castle right here.